Hey guys, hope you're all doing great. I'm Hoodie, and today we're going to check out some Reddit stories together. And if you enjoy listening to Reddit stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The subreddit Am I the Asshole? Posted by public_edge6210. Am I the asshole for not wanting my in-laws to take over my baby and for refusing to move in with them? Me, 30 female, and my husband, 31 male, have been married for almost 3 years and have an 8-month-old baby boy. Ours was an arranged marriage, and I genuinely got lucky. My husband is kind, supportive, and very understanding. My husband is the eldest of 3 sons. His 2 younger brothers live abroad. Since my in-laws don't have a daughter, they treated me very well from the beginning, and overall they are good people. This makes the situation harder for me. The issues started after my son was born. During the first few months postpartum, I stayed with my parents and then with my in-laws. At first, I ignored small things, assuming they were just excited grandparents. But over time, certain behaviors started bothering me. They would refer to themselves as father and mother when talking to my baby in our native language. When my baby cried or needed to sleep, my FIL would ask my MIL to comfort him instead of letting me do it. Sometimes they wouldn't give my baby to me when he was crying or would take him from my arms, saying they would try to calm him. I felt invisible but stayed quiet, thinking it might just be postpartum hormones. After we moved to the city where my husband works, it got worse. We video call them daily. Whenever my baby cries, my FIL says things like, "Our baby is sad because he's missing us," or that the baby is all alone there, even though he's with his parents. He has joked that the baby might be bored of seeing only my husband's and my face. It often feels like they see my baby as their child and us as caretakers. They also constantly insist the baby looks only like their side of the family and dismiss any resemblance to me, even in obvious cases. My husband noticed this too and admitted it bothered him. He corrected his father once, but it didn't stop. Eventually, I started correcting my FIL every time he called himself Dad. And he finally stopped. They visited us twice after we moved, and both visits were extremely stressful due to constant boundary crossing and comments about our parenting. Recently, the main conflict happened. We can't visit our hometown often because my husband gets only 4 days off a month. Now my in-laws want us to quit our jobs and move permanently into their home so they can be close to the baby. I work from home, but only from our current location, not my hometown. More importantly, based on their current behavior, I don't feel comfortable living with them. My FIL frequently comments that we don't feed the baby on time, that the baby is unhappy, lonely, and has to play alone. I told my husband I'm not comfortable living with them because I feel they won't allow us to raise our son the way we choose. My husband agrees and plans to have a serious conversation with his father to set boundaries and clearly state that this is our child. However, my husband is also worried because his parents would be alone, as his brothers live abroad. Apart from these issues, they have been good to me, and I don't want to damage the relationship. Am I the asshole for refusing to move in with my in-laws and for wanting firm boundaries around my baby, even if it hurts their feelings? Well, OP, you're absolutely not wrong for wanting firm boundaries here. From what you described, this doesn't sound like excited grandparents who occasionally overstep. It sounds like people who are slowly trying to replace you in your own role as a parent. When someone keeps calling themselves mom and dad to your baby, takes your child from your arms, and constantly suggests that the baby is unhappy without them, that's not harmless affection. That's emotional ownership. And you're right to trust that uncomfortable feeling. When boundaries get brushed off early, they almost always get worse later. Moving into the same house would only give them more access and more control, not less. The fact that your husband sees it too and is willing to back you up matters a lot here. You're not trying to punish them. You're trying to protect your authority as parents and the stability of your child's home. And that is completely reasonable. And while her discomfort already felt rooted in a pattern of being slowly pushed aside, the update shows that those feelings weren't just emotional. They were backed by concrete moments where boundaries and even basic safety were repeatedly ignored. And now, here's the update from the original poster. I wanted to add an update after a recent visit from my FIL, as it reinforced many of the concerns I mentioned in my original post. Before their visit, I asked my husband to remind my FIL to wash his hands before holding our baby, as this has been an ongoing issue in the past. Despite being told, my FIL took our baby from my arms immediately upon arriving, without washing his hands. My husband had to ask him multiple times before he finally did so. During the visit, there were repeated comments about our baby being happy now that everyone is here, and otherwise being all alone, when it's just me and my husband with him. There was also another instance of my FIL refusing to acknowledge any resemblance between our baby and me, even when others, including my husband, pointed out obvious features like my hair. This turned into an unnecessary argument over something very trivial, which again made me feel dismissed. Later in the evening, alcohol was being consumed in the living room. While I'm personally uncomfortable with my baby being around drinking, I chose not to escalate the situation in front of guests and instead kept my baby with me in the bedroom. At that point, my FIL made a comment framed as a joke about putting a few drops of alcohol in our 8-month-old baby's mouth so he could get a taste early, saying that everyone in the family drinks anyway. Both my husband and I immediately shut this down. My husband, who is a doctor, firmly told him that this was unsafe and unacceptable. My FIL dismissed it by saying nothing would happen, that it was costly whiskey, and that he had been given alcohol as a child, and that it was supposedly good for gut health. Regardless of intent, this crossed a serious line for us. There were also a few other smaller boundary issues throughout the visit. We did not have a full conversation with my FIL at that time, because my MIL was not present, and my FIL was visiting with his brothers and sons. We felt it was more appropriate to address these issues privately and together, rather than in front of extended family, or while alcohol was involved. After they left, I told my husband that I am no longer comfortable with the idea of ever living in the same house as his parents. If we were to move closer in the future, it would have to be in a separate home. My husband agreed. This visit confirmed that my discomfort isn't about minor disagreements or hurt feelings, but about repeated boundary violations and concerns around our child's safety and our authority as parents. We are aligned and will be setting firmer boundaries going forward. Well, OP, after reading the update, it's even clearer that your concerns were never about hurt feelings. They were about safety and respect. Ignoring basic hygiene requests, making comments about alcohol for an infant, and dismissing both you and your husband when you set limits, that crosses from annoying into dangerous territory. When someone refuses to respect small boundaries, you can't trust them with bigger ones. What stands out to me is that this isn't one mistake, it's a pattern. Minimizing your role as the mother, questioning your parenting, and pushing jokes that aren't jokes at all when it comes to your baby's health. And the most important part? You and your husband are finally aligned. That's huge. You're not isolating his parents. You're simply choosing not to hand over control of your family just to keep the peace. Sometimes protecting your child and protecting your marriage means being willing to disappoint other people. And honestly, that's part of becoming parents. You're not being cruel. You're being responsible. Now, let's move on to the next post. The subreddit, Am I the Asshole? Branchy001. Am I the asshole for kicking my daughter out of my husband's birthday party? Hi everyone, I am new to Reddit, but my son said this would be a good way to get opinions on what happened a day ago, December 27th, 2025. This may be a long one, as I want to include everything that happened so it is fair. I, 50 female, and my husband, 53 male, have been together for 26 years now, and we have 3 children. I will not be using their real names, as I know some people on here may connect the story, and my family does not want that to happen. My son, Alex, 22 male, my daughter Sarah, 20 female, and my youngest daughter, Ella, 19 female. Some background information on my family. Alex has started as a computer technician and lives in an apartment about 20 minutes away from us. He is usually quite a calm person and likes to have his own space a lot of the time. We see him every so often as he is a workaholic. Our daughter Sarah currently lives in her university town, as she studies there and came back for the winter holidays. She is a very hard worker and usually clams situations and fights. Ella was supposed to be taking a gap year, but she decided against going to university and works at a local pub as a bartender. She is very kind and caring and loves being with the younger nephews and nieces we have, their cousins. My husband's birthday was the 27th of December this year, and I had planned his birthday party since November. We take birthdays very seriously in our household, and I set up a surprise birthday party for him. My husband, I will call him Dave, had been a firefighter for 20 years. He retired 11 years ago. So I invited all his old colleagues, our family friends, and our family to our house for the celebration. Alex had taken him out for golf in the daytime, so we could set everything up, and they were to be back at 6 p.m. My daughter, Sarah, and my sister-in-law helped set everything up in the house. This included collecting the cake, putting up decorations, organizing people, and blowing up a copious amount of balloons. This is where the challenges started with Ella. I asked her multiple times during the day to come and help set everything up, and I was met with yelling or being told to go away in some lovely language I will not repeat on here. I told her off for shouting at me, which only led to her locking her door. When my husband and son arrived, the party truly began, and that's when Ella came down. She came down in a short dress, which showed a little too much skin, and began to drink excessively. We are in the UK, so the legal age for drinking is 18. My daughter Sarah tried to get her to slow down, but was then shouted at and told to go away. This obviously attracted some attention from guests. I tried pushing them apart from each other, so a fight would not start. This helped for a little bit as Ella went outside to sit on her own. A few hours into the party, I noticed Ella had come back inside and was trying to flirt with some of my husband's old colleagues. One of them came up to me and told me what she was saying to them, which was, "My room is only upstairs. I can show you. I bet you look so good in your uniform." Which obviously was quite disgusting to hear, as these men are much older than her and most are married. I did not want to tell Dave about this, as I did not want to ruin his birthday. So I told his friend to keep it quiet, and if she continues, I will sort it out myself. As the party continued, Ella drank more and became more incoherent and more loud. At this point, a lot of people were getting annoyed with her and walking away from her. It came to a head when my nephew, who is 9 years old, wanted to show her his new toy plane. Ella is usually good with him and will sit and talk to him even if he goes on and on. However, this time, she picked the plane up and threw it across the room. This made a massive bang noise as it collided with the table, and everyone spun around. At this point, I walked over to her and grabbed her by the arm and dragged her upstairs. Now I know I shouldn't have grabbed her like that, which I have apologized for. I walked her into her room and started shouting at her and telling her she will not come out of her room until the next day. She became more aggressive with me and started throwing objects around her room at me. This included a lamp and her hair straightens. Alex came up as he could hear the commotion and managed to wrestle Ella onto her bed and keep her there. The party had ended at this point, and most people went home. A family friend of ours, who has children around the same age, I will call her Louise, said she can take Ella to her house until she is calm. I said it will be okay, however. Ella heard this and started begging to go with them and started saying how we don't treat her like an adult and how she is the victim. I let her go with them, and she hasn't returned to the house. I called her this morning, but she didn't answer. Louise said she is still at hers, but is refusing to leave the room they gave her and does not answer when being called around the house. I told Dave about the inappropriate comments she was making to his old colleagues, which he was disgusted at but said, when she is home we will discuss this as a family. We have apologized to everyone, especially our nephew and his family, as it was very out of order what she did. I am still a little angry, but more upset, and I keep thinking about how she said she was a victim. I do not understand what happened yesterday. Is there anything I can do to make this right or sort this out? I didn't want Dave's birthday to be ruined, but I also want to know why Ella became so hostile. Well, OP, you're not wrong for stepping in when the situation was clearly getting out of control. You were trying to protect your guests, your husband's birthday, and honestly, your daughter herself. When someone is drunk, acting aggressively, and crossing serious social boundaries, that's not something a parent can just ignore and hope it fixes itself. You reacted in the moment to stop things from escalating even further. That said, this story feels less like a case of a bad daughter, and more like a case of a young adult who was overwhelmed, intoxicated, and spiraling in a public setting. Your frustration makes sense, but so does the confusion about where all that anger and impulsive behavior came from. It's clear you weren't trying to humiliate her. You were trying to contain a situation that had already become unsafe and uncomfortable for everyone involved. This doesn't read like cruelty. It reads like a family crisis that exploded at the worst possible time. And while her behavior already felt alarming and out of character, the update reveals what was really happening behind the scenes. And now, here's the update from the original poster. Hi everyone. Sorry for not updating for a week. It's all a bit hectic as it has just been Christmas and New Year's. I would like to thank everyone for the advice, and it definitely helped when we had a sit-down discussion with her, but I shall get to that later. Before I start, I would like to address some comments. A lot of people were asking if Ella has an alcohol or drug problem. She does not. She is usually very restrained with drinking and does not drink heavily. For drugs, I do not know what she does in her free time, but I would be disappointed if has done any. However, I did have to remind myself that we were all 19 once, and sometimes we take stuff, and that is okay. I would rather she had told us, but again, we were all 19 once. Furthermore, the essay comments I have no idea about. I see where everyone is coming from, and I respect that. I understand it is a very hard topic of conversation to have, especially with your parents. As I said at the start of the post, we did have a conversation with her, and I will talk on that soon. After Ella left with our friend, we tried calling her the next day, but she did not pick up. We messaged her multiple times, and I messaged her to apologize for grabbing her at the party. She read them but did not respond. Our friend who took her said she was not cooperative with her or her family, and just stayed in the room they gave her, and only came out to go to the bathroom, fill her water bottle up, or get food. Our other daughter, Sarah, called her on the 29th and offered to collect her, as we got a phone call from the family friend saying Ella needs to leave the house. Ella apparently screamed at Sarah down the phone, calling her numerous names and refusing to leave. On the 30th, we had received a message from Ella saying she is at her friend's house. I will call her Grace, and she will be staying there over New Year's. And to quote Ella, she said it is because her family is nicer and more accommodating to her, which hurt us. Grace and Ella have been friends since they were 12, and I have Grace's mom's number, so I called her. She said Ella is very upset still and does not want to speak to us, but she will try convince her to have a conversation with us, as it is important to get to the root of the issue. Yesterday, 2nd of January, we managed to have a sit-down with Ella at Grace's house. Ella requested that Grace be there for this conversation, and we agreed. It was Dave, Sarah, and I who came to the house. When we arrived, Grace's mom sat us in the living room and said we should allow Ella to speak first. Ella and Grace came downstairs, and Ella started talking about the 27th and what happened. I will sum up the conversation. Ella started with how she was sorry she ruined my husband's birthday, and she did not mean to get that drunk. She said that she had taken an edible, which is weed but you can eat it, and then she had mixed it with alcohol, which obviously didn't turn out well. Ella said she wanted to apologize to her cousin as she was upset that she had upset him by ruining his toy. We gave her a hug and said we know she didn't mean any of it. Sarah asked, why were you trying to flirt with all the men at the party? Ella said she doesn't even remembering doing that, but nothing bad has happened to her, and she just wasn't in the right state of mind. She apologized for shouting at everyone, and she only ignored our messages and calls because she was embarrassed at herself and did not want to face what she had done. Ella has now moved back into the house, and we're going to see my nephew tomorrow, and she is bringing him some presents as she feels guilty about breaking his. She has written a message down for Dave to send to his friends about what she was doing at the party, and Dave will send it in the morning. Alex and Ella still need to have a conversation, as one of the things she threw at me did hit him instead, and he is not pleased about it. He is currently at his house, as he has work to do, but he said over next week he should be free. Overall, it has been a better outcome than expected, and we hope we can get the family back on track, and I hope no one holds anything she did against her, as we now know what had happened. Many thanks everyone, and have an amazing new year. Also, one thing my older nephew, he is 16, thought he would remind me of. Have a poo at the start of the year, so you are not carrying old SHD with you. Red heart, lots of love. Well, OP, the update really reframes everything in a much more compassionate light. Once you know that alcohol was mixed with an edible, her behavior suddenly makes a lot more sense. even if it doesn't excuse it. What matters here is that she took responsibility, apologized to the people she hurt, and explained that she wasn't acting from malice. She was acting from impaired judgment and embarrassment afterward. That's not a villain story. That's a young person making a serious mistake and owning it. And from your side, what stands out is that you didn't double down on punishment. You chose communication. You apologized for grabbing her. You gave her space. And when the conversation finally happened, you listened instead of just lecturing. Families don't heal by pretending nothing happened, but they also don't heal by turning one bad night into a permanent label. You handled this like parents who want resolution, not control. It's clear this wasn't about kicking her out. It was about everyone being overwhelmed and reacting badly in the moment. The fact that you're moving forward together says a lot about the strength of your family, even when things get messy. All right, everyone, which story got you fired up the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you for spending your time with me. Your support genuinely means the world. Take care, much love, and I'll see you in the next one.